Yo, what's good? This your boy Derek Branch here of Memphis Wire on SportsView360.com, covering the Memphis Tigers. And this week's rundown got a plethora of information to break down in regards to the Memphis Tigers men's basketball program. For the most part, there hasn't really been a lot of splash moves, any groundbreaking type content to really put out, because the roster is pretty much intact. They're still, they're still trying to fill that front court spot on the team. There's 1 7-footer, Aaron Bradshaw, and everybody else, the next, tallest player on the team, that in regards to size, are players that are like 6'8". But they're still looking for that type of player, because yesterday it was reported that Memphis target Tafara Gapare. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce his name. Tafara Gapare committed to Villanova. So I went up and looked that guy up, and I know he had made a couple visits. He made a visit to Memphis a while back. Had some interest. Maybe there could have been some interest with him coming into the program. But yesterday it was reported that him and Villanova had a financial agreement in place, so that means that he'll be committing to that program. Now, I'm not surprised by that move, because the Villanova head coach, it was the head coach at Maryland, and that program did go to the tournament last season. I think it went to the tournament the year prior to that. But he is now the head coach at Villanova now. And usually when that happens, the coach that's coming in, the incoming coach that's coming in, always have a tendency to take players along with him. So he goes to Villanova. Gapare goes with it, despite having some interest in committing to Memphis. So, I went and looked at his game log, looked at his footage, looked at his tape, and I'll be honest with you, it's not the end of the world, but it would have been nice, and it would have been nice if Memphis could have got this guy to commit to the program, because he's 6'9", 215, can run the floor, can run up and down the court, very athletic, got most of his scoring done at the rim, would have been a huge boost for the front court, the Memphis front court. Maybe he probably would have had a chance to start. I looked at his minutes and all that. He averaged 13 to 22 minutes based on what I saw in his game log. And I'm assuming, I could be wrong on this, I have to go back and check, but looked like he was a player that came off the bench. He's only averaged 3.4 points per game and 1.9 rebounds. And maybe he would have been a guy that had that Danger-like jump coming from, I think he came off the bench. Danger did come off the bench at Illinois, comes to Memphis, and he was on the bench at Memphis, but eventually he was so good that Hardaway put him in the starting five, and we saw how that played out. Became was named AAC Newcomer of the Year. And maybe this would have been the case with Tafara Gapare, come in, doesn't play a whole lot of minutes at your previous destination, numbers down in the single digits, comes to Memphis, your play is elevated under Penny Hardaway. But good luck to him. Look like Villanova's getting a really good player, just based on what I've seen, based on what I've looked at, points, he scored sporadically in games, 13 points here, 9 there. I think the highest he had last season was like 19 points. So there was points in the game where he became an impact player, But now that's out the way now. From what I've read yesterday, is that Memphis now has his sights set on another player who played in the AAC with another program, UTSA. His name is Kiri Huey. I'm assuming that's not how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. But he played at Miami. But that didn't go too well, and a lot of things at Miami has really been going too well, based on what we have seen. But previous stop to Miami, according to the numbers, he had 11.3 points per game and 5.8 rebounds per game. So if they can grab him, that'll be great. We've seen how that's played out with Memphis grabbing the AAC's best players, or their most talented players, or the best contributing players. They come to Memphis, and Pennywell assembles pretty much the best team of assembled AAC players. So it wouldn't hurt to add Mr. Kevin Willard to the roster. Played at UTSA. Things didn't go too well at Miami, but like I said, Miami has not been a good program for the last couple of years. They've had good squads in the past. Last year was so bad. The coach retired, I think. And one of his reasons why is because of the ongoing NIL, transactions, players wanting more money. A lot of these guys is not signing up for that. A lot, especially the old timer, the old school head coaches. But Penny Hardaway, is figured out a way to navigate through this, and sometimes Hardaway does, express some frustration with dealing with the NIL and the transfer portal, but for the most part, he has gotten the players that he wanted to get, But Kevin Willard would help, he would help forward, grab 5.8 rebounds per game, 11.3 points per game. So that may be the next target, and it may be a success that they do add him to the fold. So we'll see how that'll play out. All right. So I think I saw a comment yesterday or the other day on one of my videos. We're talking about, the Dane Danger situation and the Tigers needing to add another big to the mix, despite, you got Aaron Bradshaw, and that's pretty much all that you have in regards to the size on your team. And somebody said that you can start, full guards, or, a team a starting five that's comprised with mostly wings or guards and one big man and win the AAC. And that's true. That is true. Because last year, I felt as though Memphis was kind of, small in regards to the front court. But they got the job done. They got the job done. That wasn't really a reason why they lost out in the tournament against Colorado State. That wasn't the reason why they lost. It was because of the guard play. You had two guards injured in the game. And not in the game, but injured a few games prior. And then you also, your best player at the time, PJ Haggany, had an off day. So that pretty much led to your demise in that matchup. But yes, you can have a team full of wings and guards and one big man in your starting five and be really good in the AAC. The problem is what happens once you get outside of the AAC and the NCAA tournament. And let's say you do have your guards, but you might be a little light in the front court. Opposing teams that you may be way better than on paper, talent-wise, could take advantage of that, of your lack of size in the interior, in the post, So it's still important that Memphis adds another efficient front court player to the mix, I thought Dane Danger and Moisa Cisse did pretty well maintaining those roles last season. There's times where they struggle in certain matchups, but most of the time they won a lot of games. And that was by far Penny's best team. But it doesn't matter, man. I think he's gonna find a guy, man. He's gonna find. I don't know when it's gonna happen. Maybe it's this guy, Mr. Kiri Hui. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. I really don't know, but maybe you can add that guy to the mix. It'll work. It'll help out. But outside of the AAC is where your big man or lack of a big man could come into play. You know, you don't want to give these teams any advantage. You know, especially in your non-conference play. And that's like the biggest, one of the biggest factors that determines whether Memphis makes a tournament or not. You know, they were so good in their non-conference slate that once they got into American play, AAC in conference play, all they had to do was pretty much win a lot of games. You know, you don't want to get to where you go into where you struggle during non-conference play, and then you come in with a significant sense of urgency to win those games. Because that way, the league becomes, instead of it becoming a one-bid league, it becomes a bid stealing type of situation. You know what I mean? Where you can't, the margin for error is slim. Last year, I know people were still stressing out, thinking that Memphis was going to get screwed over, but they really did. They didn't, because they played so well during the non-conference slate. You know? So, and then when they got to the conference, they only lost one game, if I'm not mistaken? 1 or 2 games? I'm not sure. Gotta go back and look at it, but they did pretty well. You know what I'm saying? But it's better to have every weapon that you can get in your arsenal to play these teams in non-conference play. And having a big man is very important. So that's how you got to look at it. You know, that's how you got to look at it from that perspective. But they'll find one, man. They're gonna get one before the season tips off, man. And then if not, Penny will figure out a way, you know. So we'll see. And other news, to close this rundown out. It was reported yesterday on Thursday by John Rothstein and a few others that Memphis and Utah State will start a home-and-home series, which will begin late in the season next February 2026 against Utah State. The game will be played. First matchup will be played in Utah State. Next game will be played at Memphis. So Utah State was one of those programs that did make the tournament last season. So that's again, and they also will be going to Utah State will be going to a better basketball league than the AAC. They will be going to the Pac-12, so that helps as well. That elevates the profile of that matchup in the future, and that's an opportunity for Memphis to play a game late in February outside the conference against a team that could be fighting for an NCAA tournament berth. And that could be great on your resume. And that way, you give fans something to stay engaged about once you start once you start in-conference play. You take a break from in-conference play to go back to non-conference play against an intriguing opponent like Utah State. Fans will talk about it. Keep them engaged. You know, but for the most part, man, I think that's a smart move by Penny Hardaway. He's been wanting to do that, though. He's been wanting to play somebody late in the season that's not in the AAC slate. You know, so hats off to him to get that done. Home and home series with Utah State. First game will be played at their place. Next game the series will rotate to Memphis. Don't know what'll happen after that, but good. I think it's a solid opponent for the Tigers to have, and could look good on the resume for vying for the NCAA tournament. So there's that. All right, so that's for y'all for right now. Give me a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let me know how you feel. What are your thoughts on Memphis? Continue to search for for a front court player? And what are your thoughts on the Tigers now playing Utah State in 2026? Have a blessed day. Peace. Bye.